Lads and ladies, my name is Jack Must Die. Welcome to my unorganized, in-depth thoughts on the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I didn't want to do this 2 weeks after it released. It's been 2 weeks now.
Right?
Has it been 2 weeks? It's been 2 weeks. I wanted to do this earlier, but unfortunately, I am busy. I work 2 jobs. This is not one of them. But you know what? Doesn't matter. Finally here. I'm probably not going to say anything that hasn't already been said. I don't know. I've been avoiding watching other people's videos about this, so I can be 100% original. Woo! That's what we're here for, fam. Spoilers, by the way. I forgot to mention that. It should be obvious. I'm going to probably put it in the title anyway. There's going to be heavy spoilers in here. So if you haven't seen the movie and you want to and you don't want spoilers, don't watch this video. Go watch my other one. Alrighty. So here's the fun thing. I've seen the movie 6 times already. Which maybe doesn't sound like a lot in 2 weeks. Or maybe it does. I don't know. That's a lot for me. I'm not one to go watch movies over and over again. Usually I will watch it once and be good for a long time. Nightmare Before Christmas is actually unusual for me because I watch it once every year. But that's a whole year in between. This one I have seen several times in a short amount of time. So for me, that's unusual. Enough rambling. I went and saw it in theaters thrice. My third time, my third time, I took a little notebook with me and I tried to write in the dark. In the dark. That's hard, by the way. It was a lot harder than I expected it to be. And I was a little worried I wasn't going to be able to read any. My handwriting's bad enough as it is. When I can't even see what I'm writing, I'm sure it's atrocious. I won't find out right now, however, because I don't know where the notebook went. Hooray! I did do a more in-depth analysis at home. As you know, you can stream it on Peacock, which I have access to, so in my own home, I watched. I analyzed this thing, fam. I was pausing. I was recording little bits to take clearer screenshots if I needed to. It didn't really seem to help because a lot of the background stuff that I was trying really hard to look at is blurry AF. Oh well, I guess. And I took a separate set of notes. I tried to keep different notes than the ones I had in the notebook. So, I wasn't just repeating the same things over and over again. Unfortunately for me, I don't remember what I wrote down in the notebook. So, I might never get that back. Anyway, unorganized, I've got a bunch of random stuff written down, and some of it is like, I wrote, Foxy appears to be going after the night guard while he's in his office. Yes, obviously, that's not really a hidden detail. So some of these aren't super intelligent of me, but I hope some of them are at least, not super obvious. Alright, let's see. Alright, so it's not necessarily the first thing that stood out to me, but the first thing that really stood out kind of fits in with a bigger thing that I want to talk about later. This is a little smaller thing, but if you look when Mike is talking to the counselor at Abby's school, if you look on the background of the chalkboard, it's got like spelling words. So if you look close, you can see the word fox, bear, bunny, chick, right, along with some other words. Those ones are pretty obvious. But you can also see the word puppet. Now, it could be a coincidence, but Scott Cawthon was pretty involved in this, so I don't think it is. I'll bet you that puppet is a reference to the marionette, and I'll bet you that's a hint, because, okay, it's well known by now, I think. I hope. If it's not well known to you, surprised, but there's going to be more FNaF movies. From the looks of it, Matthew Lillard, the guy that played, I almost said Shaggy. That's correct, but not in this movie. The guy that played William Afton said that he signed a deal for 3 movies, which, that's the first one. And it did that movie did extremely well. It made, by now it's 200 million US dollars. That's insane. With a $20 million budget, yeah, we're getting more movies. And I am betting that the puppet's going to show up in the second one. There was a lot of elements from a bunch of the games in the first one, although like location wise and animatronic model wise, it was definitely based on the first one pretty heavily. My guess is they're going to follow that pattern, and the second one's going to follow the second game a little more closely, which I'm actually stoked about. Can you imagine Mangle? Oh, dude, Mangle's going to look so cool. Fun little detail that I noticed was that we see Afton as Steve Raglan twice. Both times he's wearing a purple tie. Subtle, I know. He didn't. On the tape that Mike plays, which, who left that for him? I'm guessing it was probably Afton. I don't really see a reason for the animatronics to do that. Maybe Vanessa did, like she knew more than she was letting on. Anyway, so on there, the lady, she has a name. I just looked this up. What's her name? Kim. Her name is Kim. Okay. I didn't look it up to find out her name. I was looking it up because I saw Kim in the credits and I was like, who's Kim? It's the girl in the tape. Anyway, Kim mentioned that the animatronics have limited range to roam free, which makes me wonder, can they not leave the pizzeria? We don't really see them leave, and there's no suggestions of them leaving any of the games or anything. But it's like, what causes the limited range? Is it battery life? Is it like, with shopping carts, when you take them over a certain line and they just freeze up? Is it kind of like that? Is that important? Probably not. I was also wondering, because we see 2 balloon boy jump scares for Mike, and then the third one, the silly little mid-credits scene. Why is there a balloon boy figurine there? We know this, like we said, this is based on the first games, which we know takes place after the second game, which features Balloon Boy. So I'm wondering if it's like a memento from the previous location, if it's like a little teaser, like, oh, Balloon Boy's in here. Yeah, it's a little Easter egg for the FNaF fans, but also, where did he come from? Hey, we've got the prequel. I'm hoping that's what it means. Especially with the prequel being confirmed. Or not prequel, another movie. We don't know what it is yet. I like that Chica uses her cupcake. The only time we see her attempt to kill is when she picks up Abby to put her in the Springlock doll. And at the same time, it's like we don't even know if she's fully aware that what she's doing is murder, or attempted murder. But every other time, she sends her cupcake after whomever it is she wants to get. And there's been a long-standing theory that the cupcake is the spirit of the dog that belongs to the little girl that is residing inside Chica. And honestly, that cupcake acts like a dog. It's fantastic. So that's just that's a fun little detail. I'm trying, where does this take place? Does anyone know? I'll probably look it up after I make this video. Like I said, I'm trying to avoid other people's theories because I don't want my brain tainted. Is that the right word? I don't want to get any ideas from anyone else in my brain before I can get these out there. Where does this take place? In the books and like the trilogy. I don't know about the Pizzaplex books or the Fazbear Frights books, which seem to take place in various places actually. But in the trilogy and FNaF 6, and potentially other games, it takes place in Utah. Represent! Murder robots, yeah! It's my state, woo! But I don't know about the movie. The closest I can get to finding a location, like, it mentions Nebraska, but obviously it doesn't take place in Nebraska, Or why would Mike need a poster of it? The closest I found was the license plate on Vanessa's police car. I couldn't seem to get a clear look at Mike's license plate. But it says GFPD, so something police department. I did actually look up what GFPD might mean. Someone suggested Granite Falls. I have GK here on my notes next to that. I don't remember what that means. It was filmed in New Orleans, but I don't think it takes place there. There's this scene where Vanessa is looking at the pictures on the wall. And specifically the one, like the center one, where there's kids standing next to a smiley, happy spring Bonnie. And she hears, and at first there's like laughing and singing, and then she hears the children screaming as they die, obviously. We talk about fun things on this channel. So I'm wondering, was she there for that? How old was this child when her father started serial killing other children? How long did she know that her father was an awful person? That's all. I get the sense that she's been in on it, which makes her sound like a willing accomplice. Obviously, she's the reluctant follower. We get that very much. She shoots her father, for crying out loud. But I get the sense that she was aware of it from a young age and either just manipulated into believing that she shouldn't go to the authorities or bullied into it. Because obviously Afton was never arrested. That would put a stop to the entire movie. Anyway, that's messed up. It really is. Oh yeah, okay. So what causes the animatronics to kill? Because we see when they're around Abby, they're like playing with her, or they're making the fort. They're very childlike. Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Freddy, they're like children, which is, the spirits that inhabit them, they are the spirits of children. So, what flips suddenly when, first we get like the security guard in the very beginning, then named security guard, then the intruders. I keep knocking against my desk, it's probably going to look great on camera. The intruders that come in, Max and her brother and them to mess up the place and get Mike fired. And then later, Mike himself. What causes them to be so aggressive? Is it like... we don't know much about the security guard, the first one himself. I know in FNaF 2, the game, it mentions that they don't like adults. Maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe it's because that's kind of their safe haven. That's where they live, and it felt like they was being intruded. A voice line from Ultimate Custom Night came to mind a lot. It's from the puppet itself, but the line says something like, "The others are like animals, but me, I am very aware." So that makes me wonder, the kids, if they're not 100% sure of what they're doing. And I know that's, from the games, from the puppet, but I can't imagine that's irrelevant. And there's also a part in the movie itself where Vanessa mentions that Afton has some kind of control over the kids, which seems viable, but he wasn't there that we saw anyway. I didn't see anything when the intruders broke in. And I don't know why he'd have such interest in the first security guard. Obviously, he's got an interest in Mike, but... yeah, I don't know. Also, the kids seem to really dislike Mike. Speaking of them trying to kill him. It's never made clear why. Abby mentions that they talk about Vanessa, and they seem to think she's nice. I don't know why they dislike Mike specifically. There's also a really fun scene... where you get a good look at all the kids standing in the background, Golden Freddy in front. I think it's the last time we see Mike dreaming, and he's just agreed, I think, to give the kids his little sister in exchange to have this dream where he's with Garrett all the time. A very emotional decision, not one he really meant to make. But it's in the background, you see their faces blur, and it's not like they're just blurred and that's it. they come in and out of focus, specifically on their faces. I have no idea. I can't even begin to tell you why I think that might be. I can't even begin to think why that might be. No idea. I was watching the movie again with my friend Colleen. She's on here too, by the way, on YouTube. You should check her out. She's got some cool stuff. We were watching it together, and we were talking about it together. And we noticed that each of the kids, not each of the kids, all of them but the blonde kid, have, they've all got something that is reminiscent of the animatronic they possess, but it's white. It's like Freddy's got a white hat. Chica's got her white bib. Bonnie's got his white ears. Foxy's got the cuff part of his hook is white. And we were like, that's kind of weird. And then we kind of came to the conclusion, or the suggestion rather, that maybe, because white often represents innocence. These kids are innocent, What if that's what it means? Or maybe I'm looking too much into this. I tend to do that. I'm not kidding when I say I went to like an in-depth analysis of this. I looked into the VHS tapes in the background, trying to see if I could catch anything on there. The only one I could really read was Lion King, though. So, not really. There is also a scene near the end. So, we've got, Aunt Jane. Abby doesn't like her Aunt Jane. Jane wants to get custody of Abby, not because she really cares about her, but because she wants some, welfare check from the state. And Abby's pouting in her room because Aunt Jane's watching her because the babysitter died. And she hears a thump. And when Abby goes out, she sees Golden Freddy, who she calls Freddy. And then we see, she talks to the spirit inside Golden Freddy, the little blonde boy. And she turns around and sees Aunt Jane's legs kind of sprawled on the floor. Apparently people have just accepted she's dead. It's never explicitly stated. It's heavily implied, I think, but it's also never brought up again. No one goes, oh, by the way, Aunt Jane's dead. And no one's like, oh, we should probably take care of this. She's like our remaining kin. It's just kind of weird that's just kind of left behind. I don't know if it was intentional in the story building or if she was just like, plot device done with. Goodbye. But yeah, she's never really brought up again after that. It's kind of fun though, because Abby, she goes with Golden Freddy. You've seen in the trailer, he gets in the taxi and Corey X. Kenshin goes, when he sees him. And then they get that money shot of the two standing outside Freddy Fazbear's. Abby walks inside and Golden Freddy does not follow her. And I don't know if there's a lore reason behind that, but I'm guessing it's to kind of show he just kind of disappears. And he's the only one we see outside of the Pizzaplex, the pizzeria, excuse me. And I'm wondering if it's to show that this Golden Freddy is more of a phantom than the other ones. The other ones seem very tangible, and Abby takes Golden Freddy's hand, / paw, or whatever you want to call it. The paw of the suit, by the way, not the spirit. So can be tangible, but he must have some ability to appear and disappear at will, kind of like in the first game. Except, he's not slumped over in the movie. He's there. We also, speaking of slumped over suits, though, we do see Sparky the dog in the back room. Nice reference. We like that. If you don't know who Sparky the dog is, back when the game was first released, there was kind of rumors and hoaxes going around that, there's another animatronic that's just kind of in the background. It doesn't attack you. It's a dog. Then Scott had to come out and be like, that's not true. But now it is! It doesn't move, but it does get stuffed with the body. We also see an undescribed purplish one. I say purplish, it was blatantly purple, next to Golden Freddy. Not Golden Freddy, Sparky, which at first I was like, obviously that's Mr. Hippo. But now I'm thinking, what if it's Shadow Freddy? Because Shadow Freddy's got a purple look to him. Can't be Shadow Bonnie because that thing's weird, and it's not even... Shadow Bonnie and Shadow Freddy cannot be the same thing, right? Maybe they're both phantoms and entities rather than physical beings. I guess entity is not really the good word to use there. But Shadow Bonnie and Shadow Freddy seem to be on different levels. Anyway, I'm thinking it's Shadow Freddy, or at least a reference to it. We do see It's Me, when the lights are buzzing and the music's blaring and everything's going crazy. We see It's Me written on the mirror. Nice. I kind of wish we saw more of that. That would have been cool. Oh, I just remembered. So, in the first game, Foxy, Pirate's Cove, it's got that sign that says out of order that occasionally changes to It's Me. Foxy is not out of order in here. I don't know if that's relevant. It's just something I just thought about. At the end, when Afton is punctured by the spring locks and dying, we never see him die. Just keep that in mind. We did not see him die. He was very much alive last time we saw him. Freddy, not Golden Freddy, just regular Freddy, kind of lets out a little scream. At first, I was like, oh, that's his spirit being released. Everything is fine now. I no longer have that conclusion. I don't know why I came to that conclusion. It was not fine. Afton did not die yet. And none of the other animatronics did that. So, I don't know. Maybe it was like a victory cry. And then we get into, I mentioned earlier, are the animatronics aware that they're killing? There is a part where Chica, I don't know why it's Chica. I think that's got to be, I wonder if it's because Chica was the first. Speaking of sorry, I told you it was unorganized. In the intro sequence, we see, in like an 8-bit form, we see Afton as Springtrap, or Spring Bonnie at this point, I guess, lead the kids away from the arcade, and then the 5 kids just get smaller and smaller in numbers. It starts with Foxy. Chica was the third one. But we know from the games, specifically Ultimate Custom Night,
I was the first. I have seen everything.
That Chica was the first one to die. At least out of that set. So I'm wondering if it has something to do with that, or if it's just because it seemed gentler, having them both be girls. Little girls. It was like, maybe that's why Chica led Abby to her death, but also, or was trying to. And I was wondering, is Chica fully aware that what she was about to do was going to hurt Abby? I'm thinking because she's, more of a child, maybe not, she doesn't seem malicious, that maybe she was more of thinking, oh, this is how I get my friend to be with me all the time. And was just kind of in that track. Oh yeah, alright, let's get into the more interesting things that I noticed. So, when we see Abby's pictures of her friends, we get like good clear shots of them. There's only 4 of them in there. We have Chica, Bonnie, Freddy, and Foxy. But she seems familiar with Golden Freddy. It's like when she sees him, or the first clue we get is when Mike is talking to her and he's like, who told you about Garrett? The guy that stole Garrett, because apparently Abby was not around at the time. Who told you about that? Was it a boy with blonde hair? She says yes, so she knows who that is. She's met him before. But he doesn't seem to be included in her friends, because she never draws him in the pictures. Or she does at the very end, when she draws that final picture that kind of is the catalyst for them turning on Michael Afton. William Afton. But, and it's like, when he goes to her house, she willingly follows him. She doesn't question him. She's like, oh yeah, Aunt Jane fell asleep. Let's go to Freddy's. Woo! And she smiles when she sees him. So she clearly knows who she is. She seems familiar and comfortable around him. So why isn't he in her pictures? Speaking of Golden Freddy, by the way, that kid, there's something wrong with that child. So I think right now I'm going to call him Cassidy, because that's who he is in the games. But Cassidy, the kid with the blonde hair, is kind of evil. He seems more aware than the kids. He's not the only one that speaks. He's the only one that converses, we might say. There is a scene where Freddy, the ghost of Freddy, leads Max to the back room to be killed by Freddy. But Cassidy is the only one who actually talks to Mike and Abby, and we see him be deceptive, like when he He's the one who knocked out Aunt Jane. We know this. And when Abby, like, kind of turns to the body on the floor questioning, he goes, "Silly Aunt Jane, she fell asleep." "No, she didn't, you fool." Well, he's not a fool. He seems a little smart for that. And then there's a part at the end. Well, he's the one asking for Abby. He's the one, like, confronting Mike. I know you say you want to find the guy that killed Garrett, but really you just want to pretend it never happened. He's kind of conniving. That actor did he did like these little, this child actor did these teeny little micro expressions. He was really good. That kid has a future, should he decide to go into it. And then there's like a part at the end, before we get to the denouement, where Mike and Abby are having dinner, where we see Afton, he's in his Springlock suit, he's twitching and dying in the back of the pizzeria, and he reaches out a hand to Golden Freddy, or to Cassidy, who is peering through the door, and then Cassidy just shuts the door on him. I mean, that's fair, to be honest with you. The man murdered him, so I wouldn't want to help my killer either. But just the way he does it seems kind of, what's a good word to use here? Malevolent? It's just, he seems, in the games he's called the Vengeful Spirit. Cassidy. I don't think, it's kind of unclear whether Cassidy is a girl or a boy in the games, which might be intentional. But he's referred to as the Vengeful Spirit. And that seems to be adding up. Speaking of Golden Freddy, though, in the games, and with clues from the books, it's made clear, implied, that the Golden Freddy, the suit, houses two spirits. One being Cassidy, the Vengeful Spirit, who's got most control, and one being the Crying Child.
It's just a theory.
Did we ever come up with a name for that kid? I know Chris was floating around for a while. But Michael Afton's brother / William Afton's son. And I'm thinking Garrett is, because we do see It's Me. And by the way, at the end of the credits, in my previous video, I was like, it's very important to stay for all the credits. It is. There's if you remember in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the death minigames, you have like the creepy S-A-V distorted spelling. It happens at the end of the credits, and you get the words "Come find me," which I believe that's Garrett trying to communicate with Mike. Which leads me to my favorite big thing: the parallels between Michael Schmidt's family in the movie and William Afton's family in the games. So we look at this. William Afton in the games, you've got Afton himself, his wife, his oldest son Michael, his middle child, the Crying Child, and the baby Elizabeth, or the youngest child Elizabeth. So in here we have Mom and Dad in the movie, Mom and Dad, who we aren't really given names for. Michael Schmidt, which is obviously a reference to the first game. And Garrett, who we do not see crying, but we do see him in a gray and black striped shirt in one of the pictures that Mike has. And then the youngest child, Abby, which, by the way, is an anagram for baby. I don't think that's a coincidence. Also, the doll-like Springlock suit they were trying to put her in, that has to be baby related. Obviously, it doesn't look exactly like baby. Ella, I think from the books, is what it was referencing. But irrelevant. It's not irrelevant. It's very relevant. But they line up. And obviously Michael and Mike. And then we have, get this, on the other side, so in the books / games, we have Henry Emily, who was the creator of Five Nights... No, excuse me. Creator of Freddy's the Pizza Place, like the pizza franchise, not the games franchise. He's the guy that built the animatronics, and he was a co-worker with Afton, who did more of the business stuff. Henry Emily, had a daughter, Charlotte Emily, who became, was killed by Afton and became the puppet. So we see that parallel in Afton, who's, it's just him and his daughter, Vanessa. I don't know how related this particular Vanessa is to the one in Security Breach, but that's not what we're focusing on right now. So I just thought that was kind of interesting to have that parallel between the two, which makes me wonder, which also connects us to, why is Afton so invested in Mike's family? They went to Nebraska on a camping trip. Surely, I don't believe that Afton just happened to be there and found this random kid. I think he was following them. I think he was stalking them. He followed them to Nebraska, and he took Garrett intentionally, which leads me to my third? No, it's more than three. I don't know where I'm at by this point. To another question. Is Michael Schmidt's dad somehow involved in Freddy's or with William Afton? I noticed it was interesting. So in the last dream sequence, when Golden Freddy is like, Abby should be with us. Give us Abby. Mike's family, his dream family, talks to him. And Garrett's like, she's so happy with us. She loves them so much. They love her. And his mom is like, you're not the right person to take care of her. It's time to let her go. And the dad says jack squat. Maybe it just was that he didn't need to say anything. I just thought that was interesting. I think somehow Afton's got it out for Mike's family. He went after Garrett. He was particularly interested in Mike as well. He's like, oh, I killed your brother. Now I can kill you. And you've got a sister from the sounds of it. Let's take care of her. I'm really hoping that gets answered in the upcoming movies. Even if it's not direct. I would like some answers there. Because those parallels between the Emily family and the Afton family in the games to the movies, I cannot ignore those. They're too big, you might say. That is mostly what I wanted to talk about. I was very excited about that parallel. And then, of course, all the other little random thoughts I had. I am psyched for the second movie. It's probably, my guess is 2025 to 2026 is when we can look forward to it. With how fast they dropped the first one, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 2025. And, of course, we want to see Markiplier in there. There's a few other names. I'm like, please put so-and-so in here. But that's, okay. I don't know if I can actually... I don't know how much I can actually influence that. Probably not at all. Anyway, thank you, everyone, so much for listening to my ramblings. I hope you got something out of it. I hope. And I will see you in the next one.